Hello everyone, this is ICO Talk. My name is Yelena, and today my guest is Christopher Tse, a founder of Cardstack. Hello Christopher, thanks for joining us today.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so please first of all tell us a few words about the project, what it's all about, and what is the main idea behind it.
Sure. Cardstack is a open source project and a protocol that aims to build the experience layer of the decentralized internet, which is basically to say that we want to focus on the usability issues when you have a lot of dApps coming into play, a lot of tokens. How does an average user, how does the mass market come to learn how to use this on a daily basis? And we feel like we can build a layer that focus on user experience that allows a user to use different apps, mix and match them for different workflows, whether it's for business or for their own personal lives, and not have to worry about tokens or the different applications, where we, through the Cardstack token mechanism and our software and protocol, orchestrates all the components from different apps and making sure that you have the tokens you need, that you're using the right protocol, choosing where you store your files, choosing where you do your payments, and that's all blended together through a seamless experience. And I think that's really crucial for mass market adoption of blockchain. So we want to provide that nice entry point, or what we call on-ramp, to the people discovering blockchain this year and next.
Okay, can you please tell us in more details about this apps market? What are the main challenges on it that are to be resolved with your project?
For sure. And I think one of the things we've seen in the app market in the previous generation of technology, like the App Store, Apple, Google Play, is that they treat each application as its own experience. It opens up in your phone, you tap on it, and then you are within that one space. I think in decentralization, that's going to be a problem, right? Because so much of what we want to do in decentralization is leveraging one protocol for certain token trading, another protocol for wallet, the next protocol for security. And it's very difficult to remember in your head, which app do I need to open up on my phone to do each one? So we really believe that there's an opportunity and to essentially say, create a uniform framework and protocol so that you can have this mix and match capability. And the reason we call Cardstack is because we believe the way we do it is to shrink the app into a card, a smaller unit and information, and allow those cards to be assembled and chained together. So you could be dealing with some insurance stuff and a claim and some chat messages, and then finally a payment and settlement. And that's all coming from different dApps, built by different developers, but they are brought together in the user's own space, which we call the user's hub, where the users have control over all of this information flow in and out of the hub, and they can visualize and play with it and tangibly interact with them as this unit of information interaction, what we call cards.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any other platforms like Cardstack on the market right now? And if there are any, what are your main advantages?
Yes, I think in the centralized world, there are different toolkits to create widgets or do chatbots within conversations, but they're all very proprietary. You have a widget or an app or within the messaging app proprietary to, let's say, Facebook, whatever, and that only works there. Or you're working on a Slack platform and only works there. On the decentralized world, we're beginning to see different types of technology emerge for decentralized browsers. There's a couple of alternatives there. There are people who are saying, well, let's continue using the web paradigm. Let's go to a URL, and that's a dApp, and then we can make that easier. And you can do that through a plugin, through like a Mist browser. I think as far as trying to blend the two, which is not just letting the user to use peer-to-peer software and learn all the on-ramp of getting wallet and tokens, or let's make it all centralized. We think there's a kind of an in-between space where we can have a centralized, capable technology where you can host it, but that same runtime, that same protocol, and that same underlying logic can also be peer-to-peer. And that's kind of what Cardstack has done that makes us unique, is that not that there are not alternatives for peer-to-peer browser or hosted cryptocurrency application, let's say Coinbase on the mass market side. We believe that there's a single technical architecture, and that's what we have covered in our white paper and a lot of our technical material, that you can write the code once, and depends on how the user want to use it, deploy it to both a hosted mechanism, so it's easy to use and easy on-ramp, just go to a URL, or running entirely peer-to-peer with the same exact code base, because that code base is open source.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And tell us about the history of the project, please. When was it launched? And actually, what do you have today? What is the current, let's say, stage of development of the project?
Yeah, so Cardstack has two layers. The first layer is the Cardstack framework, which is, we think about visualizing this idea of this unit of information. There's nothing particularly blockchain about it. I can certainly have a website that has these different units of cards and assembled together, allow me to filter and search. So I've been working on that since 2014, on top of APIs. So APIs were the first step towards decentralization from the centralized web, where they're like, you can use different services API to assemble these mashups or whatever they were called. And Cardstack started then. We thought that the APIs offered by different vertical application provided an opportunity for users who using multiple consumer app, multiple software as a service app to orchestrate all that stuff together with the Cardstack as the user interface assembly layer. Now, so that we have built a lot of projects, some for partners and clients that leverage that basic paradigm against more conventional APIs. And we have been continue building the Cardstack repository up, which is an open source project. Some of them are proprietary project. We've done applying Cardstack technique to, for example, membership networks of people who want to share content and information and events. We've done that projects for large organizations with more than 100,000 users. We're building things for helping to orchestrate rights management ecosystem so people can trade media rights. These are all built on the basic concept. But as far as what we've learned and why we are kind of moving into this deeper decentralization protocol is that, as you can realize, a lot of these API providing companies are worried that if they don't control the user experience, they're going to lose the customers. So you're going to see more and more, restrictions, what you can do with the APIs. And you've seen that for big social networks kind of backing off the app approach. It's like, Facebook app used to be a thing and there's not a thing anymore. There used to be alternate Twitter client and there's none anymore. So they're worried that this API they provide will create competition and take away from the lock-in. So what was exciting and the reason why we are extending the Cardstack framework that has been polished and proven by integrating existing RESTful API in the centralized web to focus on decentralized app is because decentralized app, as it's coming on board, as it's being defined in the Ethereum ethos and people doing it, has open APIs because that's the whole goal, is to get as many people using these protocols as possible. So it just became very clear that by just creating new plugins, not just going into existing RESTful API, but going into Ethereum, going to Hyperledger, which we've done projects for, looking at new ways to tap into non-blockchain protocol like IPFS as a replacement for S3, so that you're dragging and dropping a file, it just happens to go to IPFS versus a more conventional cloud storage. The user doesn't know the difference, but that abstraction layer and leveraging the fact that dApps are API focused is the reason why we're excited about taking this mature framework, which is available on Cardstack GitHub, so github.com/Cardstack/Cardstack. That's the mono repository where we've aggregated all the modules. I think there's about 20 or 30 of them, and we're adding more and more, especially the one that people are waiting for, which is the way we integrate with Ethereum. That will coming within the next month or so, because we're using that for some of the orchestration we're doing for our own workflow, tapping into Ethereum. Once that's there, then developers who are not necessarily familiar with how to do advanced Solidity programming can build useful application tapping into these hooks, treating Ethereum and Ethereum application as APIs, the way they have always integrated APIs in their day job in the current centralized world. And that's kind of what Cardstack has been able to do, is to take that mature foundation and grow it into the decentralized space.
Okay, I see. And what about your team? Tell us about it.
Sure. So Cardstack started as a project focused on the user experience layer. So we focus on JavaScript development. So I have a previous history running research and development laboratories for a big media company here in New York. They want to experiment with open source to try to understand how to leverage JavaScript and these kind of user experience innovations. And in the work that I've done there, I've come to meet a lot of people who are enthusiasts about open source and that ethos of open web. So I funded a lot of projects in the JavaScript ecosystem. And those people who have kind of done these open source module, as I moved on to explore the blockchain in 2018 and try to apply this technology to to both client project and our own passion project towards this Cardstack framework, there are people from that ecosystem. A member of my team is a core team of a major JavaScript framework project at Faulkner, and he hails from MIT in Boston. He actually lives there, but he and I have been working collaboratively on saying how can we adopt this amazing assets, that is the JavaScript ecosystem, in a decentralized way and allow it to be pluggable. And then Hassan Abdulrahman, who has been working with me even in my R&D day at the large Fortune 500 company, he followed me to this thing. He has been our main blockchain developer and figuring out a way to balance on-chain and off-chain security. And that's the core team in terms of both understanding how enterprise software work and internet scale software work, and also how open source community, and combined with me, who is more of a product person, even though I have a computer science degree from Columbia, I've always been the person who is like, well, I'm not going to write the code, but if we're going to have a team of 5 working on it, this is the component and the pieces and how they come together.
Yes.
And we have a team of contributors who have come in and help out build workflow modules and stuff like that. And they are kind of flow in and out of what we call a syndicate. Like we are a group of people working collaborative together. And that allows us to really distill a lot of great talent and insight into the framework. And that's kind of what we're going to continue marching forward as a like-minded group of individuals.
Okay, I see. Let's now speak about the ICO. First of all, what are your main goals? First of all, the soft cap and the hard cap.
Yes. The token details are yet to be announced, but we are very sure that we want to, maximize the number of community participation in ICO. As far as the hard cap is concerned, I think for a project that is about delivery, we believe that it should be reasonable. It's something that shows that we are long-term aligned with the project. So we're currently setting the ICO hard cap at 35 million USD. And the soft cap is lower than that, but we will announce that a little bit later. The good thing about our project is that because we have a tremendous amount of code base, we have existing clients and existing team and partners working on the project, we feel like we are already kind of up and running. What we're looking for this token generation event, and this the foundation, which is in Switzerland and in the Zug in Crypto Valley form, there is really about taking this basic infrastructure, this software, and then incentivizing, creating that kind of reward model to get more developers who may be thinking about building for decentralization and asking themselves, how do I get compensated for it without doing a token sale? And we believe there are some people and some project that is ideal for a token mechanism, but a lot of software, accounting software and communication software don't really need the type of tokens mechanism that is elaborate and sometimes overkill. We want our token sale to allow the ability for people to sell the software. At the end of the day, the tokens is a unit of transfer to say, I am a software developer. I'm building this module within this cohesive user experience. I want to get paid for my work. Right? Okay. And if they do the work and we do something called proof of usage, that some end user with token staked, which means they're paying customer, is using this piece of accounting software, crypto accounting, whatever it might be. And based on that usage data, we will send the developer some number of tokens each month, week. That's what the token's for. So to us, this token generation event is really about inviting a larger community of software developer looking to build software, make a living, grow with the ecosystem, to have a mechanism, scalable way, right, to get a proportional share of the revenue that's coming in as people need more and more decentralized software. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, let's speak a little bit more about the tokens. Actually, what will be the key benefits for the token holders, for the investors?
So I think the token holders we see as three groups of people. So the end user sees the token as a utility. So this is a way for them to use the Cardstack token as the only token they need to interact with the experience. For the developers, the token is kind of a work token. They register the application, they register open source library, and they can participate. And then through that participation, they can reward each other. If I use someone else's library, I can say give 10% of what I earn to this amazing machine learning library I'm leveraging for my application, and that's the case. So that's a work token. And then the reward token is how we distribute it. I think what we're going to see in the people who have the Cardstack token is that they're going to unlock this amazing, growing app ecosystem, and the way we see it is that the token itself has a tremendous potential to track the growth of that ecosystem, right? As more applications get brought in, as more open source project that wasn't properly monetized, people are still looking for Patreon donation to support them to work on new projects and new feature set. Now they can participate in this ecosystem. So we see the way we look at it is that as the revenue that is flowing through this decentralized ecosystem coordinated by the Cardstack token grows, I'm sure that people will see the value of joining this ecosystem, wanting to buy tokens to participate as a developer, so they stake it and register, or as well as hosting company or as service providers that say, hey, I'm going to provide hosting for Cardstack application, and they can also benefit from that.
Okay, and will you please tell us about the key milestones of development of the project, and actually what will happen with the project if you don't get the whole sum of 35 million?
Sure. So as a project that has been basically in continuous development with a contribution team of about 15 people, to us, it's that we will continue doing this based on our existing kind of passion for the project. Obviously, the token generation event will accelerate progress in 3 ways. One is that there are certain features that requires us to do plugins for either new type of blockchain or new type of decentralized app that's being popular. That is really what we want to work on next. The core framework is done, but the plugins could use a lot of work. So we can bring more logos and more capability that people want to use. Now, not every decentralized app is ready to be integrated for real world use, but there are some that are, but they don't have the end users because the on-ramp isn't there, right? An end user reading a white paper is not going to be able to suddenly start using something for insurance or trade financing overnight. Like there's no on-ramp to it. It's just a protocol. So we want to focus on basically unlocking the value for mature decentralized application and protocols by building plugins for them. And plugins requires us to do a lot of them, right? So you do 1 and then 2 and then 3, and that's really just requires more engineering resources. Now, not all of them has to work for the foundation or work for an organization. They can participate and build plugins and then monetize that work through the reward pool and through the token mechanism. So that's the first part. The second part really is about education. And I do believe that people really don't understand, and users certainly don't understand how decentralized app can help them with their lives. So a lot of the goal is really about education, right? I had a background in education and learning technology. And the one thing we've always learned is that education is really a way to bridge the future that people see with the present that they are, right? When you are in a certain place and you're in a job or you're using certain software you're not happy with, and you see the press talking about decentralization and blockchain, what is your on-ramp? How do you get there? And that's where I think a lot of the attention and energy is about educating people on just decentralization and offering Cardstack as a gentle way to get people into the decentralized world without first acquire these 17 tokens, and then you'll be able to use things. We want to be able to say, yes, we have a mechanism to make it easy, but here's how you think about your life. How do you think about your own sovereignty? How do you think about how you can manage and own your data, and how you can orchestrate your life and build network of individuals focusing on the human relationship? So there's going to be a lot on user education, and obviously related to that, developer education. Because I think a lot of developers who are doing kind of what we call web development or app development and cloud development are looking at blockchain both fascinated with both the technical geeky part, but also the buoyancy of the ecosystem and the market value, if I can say. But they don't know how to get in. They don't know, I know these APIs and how do I do this? And
so we also want to put a lot of training
place to allow people to be able to kind of get on ramp, and that's going to be a lot of the investment. I think people, from a time and energy point of view, creating good developer training material is not easy. And I don't think it's being done enough within the blockchain space. And we're going to invest a lot of energy to not only document the Cardstack framework, but any adapters we make to an existing decentralized app will create great material for people to know how to leverage decentralized storage, decentralized trading, decentralized insurance. And so, using the Cardstack framework is the best way to build shippable application that you can deploy both on the web and on a peer-to-peer basis.
Sure. Okay. What do you think about the future and the perspectives of the ICO markets in the world?
I think, the tokens as a way to incentivize a large group of people to participate is a breakthrough, right? The structure of how you structure a token, the legal jurisdiction, the friendliness towards tokens that existed already, and then adding this capability in this product versus a token that's very early in this stage. And we see a lot of project, which is basically, I have an idea, let me create a token to work towards my idea. Cardstack is a little bit different. We have a product. We want the token to expand the ecosystem to incentivize people to participate. I see that there will be a slight separation in the space about tokens that are really about the human relationship versus token that's about funding companies. I do believe there's a lot of money coming into blockchain, both traditional and within the crypto space, that would allow companies and projects to flourish. We're seeing investment made by projects that has matured and grown, and that's a very good way. Ecosystem funds and side investment vehicle that's been in partnership with venture capitalists. Those are all different vehicles. But I do believe, however, that for funding large, ambitious ecosystem that takes on industry vertical, reorganizes the whole stack of who is involved and what the incentive structure, who can be in control, there's going to be a lot of excitement around that. But you're going to see that a lot of tokens will end up being a community coming together and say, let's do a token among these 5 or 6 existing companies want to work together. Whereas the token, where it's like, I have an idea and I want to go and get a token sale, that is obviously the more problematic of the spectrum. So I would see this idea of map of ecosystem being much more the growth that we're going to see, which means it's going to be bigger and more participant on day one. And I think it's going to be exciting to see how people coming into the token space are going to look for, show me a network of people already working. Now, our ecosystem is the existing open source ecosystem tokenized by usage. What other opportunities are there?
Okay, I see. Well, just in conclusion, our usual question, why should I invest in Cardstack?
I think, when we talk about Cardstack as a software and protocol, there's different reasons that people are excited about it. For developers, that is about taking tools that they already know and love and realizing they don't have to take a day job with a big company to work on those things. Now there's an open source protocol that allows them to get rewarded for that open source contribution and building friendly and better user interface without getting caught in building up a monopoly. So that's one thing for developers. And I think for token holder, for people who are participating in it, this is really what we're going to unlock for every single person who's going to, participate in the token event and use the token and be a part of this community, is that we're going to now create an alternative where Silicon Valley is no longer the only way that you can go and organize a large group of people, right, around software. And again, we're focusing on software right now. And I think what you can see, and then just think in your head, the largest token sale in history is about 1 day of revenue for Google. Just perspective. The Silicon Valley ecosystem in their market cap, in the total amount of dollars going through their payment system and their app stores, it's literally 10,000, 100,000 times the greatest success and greatest potential in that has already happened in the token ecosystem, including the Telegram exercise. $2 billion is not $1 billion, $2 billion is actually a really small amount in the world of like Silicon Valley tech. Now think about decentralizing that software ecosystem. How big is that? And I think that's what I want to have your viewers think about. How big would be a decentralized software ecosystem where you are paying and you're facilitating, you're rewarding people working on the software, and nobody can say, hey, they're all my employees and this is my profit. If this information is really spread broadly between all the people participating, how would that change the economy that we depend on for our digital lives?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Chris, thank you so much for this interview and for being with us today. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
Okay, now I remind you that today my guest was Christopher Tse, a founder of Cardstack. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch more interesting videos. Bye-bye.